are over 20 million shipping containers in the world, each one built to withstand over 20 years of constant use and abuse on the high seas and the open roads. We got to thinking, what happens when they retire?
I've turned the glorious 50 years old. So I have enough, as they say, gray hairs to have been around the block enough now to know enough to know better. I graduated from university with a degree in engineering as well as a degree in business. And the reality is that I've done a lot of things in my life. I've been a salesman, I've been a production manager, I've been in the custom bike building world, I've been in the custom fabrication world, I've been in home improvement. I've done a lot of things in my life. But I think the proudest thing when you try to say, who are you? You know, I think I want to limit it down to just some simplicities. I'm a guy that has a passion for trying to do what's right in the world. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a businessman.
Garrett Williamson, Andrew's son, currently 23 years old, and I handle the production and logistics for MyBox.
You know, my reason for starting MyBox is I think in all practicality, you get to a certain age in life where you realize that you've failed enough at everything you tried to do and have enough alchemy to figure out that you might try to be successful this time around. You know, I had a situation where my son gave me a phone call and that kind of led me down a rabbit hole.
So our initial conversation about MyBox actually was more of a discussion. So it started out with me being in college and doing a lot of event planning for my fraternity and the college and just dealing with the hassles of finding event space. Either it was too far away, too expensive, didn't have enough time with it, and then just what any college student does, calls their parents and complains about it.
Now in our other business, we build power plants all over the world. So I've had the opportunity to travel to other countries and see in other countries, you know, living in a man camp and building a power plant, living in a man camp, which is nothing more than a glorified shipping container with bunks in it and a bathroom. And I've seen on TV, you know, tiny house living. And so I dove as deep as I possibly could in researching what was out there in the world. What does Australia do? What does China do? Who manufactures shipping containers? What's the history of shipping containers? And I actually put together what I would call my pitch book, my binder. And I would go around and talk to people and say, hey man, look at this, check this out. We could do this with shipping containers, check this out. And I really had a passion with understanding that this is a real movement and it is this mobile modular manufacturing process is a solution in today's marketplace for giving people a multitude of different options. So I went down that rabbit hole of research.
So with that, it was, hey, do you have any sort of advice on what to do for event space? And at the moment, it was just, no, you just kind of have to deal with it. Christmas time came, and you said, hey, let me show you something. Invited me over to the shop, came down here, and I found you standing inside one of the shipping containers, grinning like a fool. Only thing that's on my mind is what could he possibly have? Walked in, He sat there and said, "Do you see it?" "No, what are you looking at?" "Your party in a box." Eureka.
Well, I didn't have the concept all the way. I'm always a big proponent on, if you're going to put it out there, you need to go out there and do it. You have to take some form of action. So I took, unbeknownst to my wife, our savings and went and bought 2 shipping containers and brought it over to our fab shop. Told our guys, there was a little bit of lull in production. The guys needed some work. So we were going to manufacture these 2 shipping containers. I already had a preconceived notion of what I wanted. I wanted to go into a tailgate party space, something that people could utilize, you know, as a gathering spot. And one of the things that I really knew that I wanted was that elevated deck space. So from the research that I'd done and looked around in the world and different designs, I knew that we had the talent pool within our fabrication department just to make it happen. What I had to do was just kind of guide that talent pool. One of the things that I've learned a long time ago was I don't need to know everything. I don't have to be great at all of it. I just need to give direction and have the right people on the bus. And I have a strong feeling that if you really put it out there and you really want it, that those people just happen to show up in your life. Not when you want it, but when you need it. And it does. So me taking my last bit of savings and buying a shipping container and delivering it here kept our guys working, as well as gave us another direction to go in. Dev, man, what a great guy. Incredibly talented, incredibly spiritual, incredibly loving individual that has a lot of depth to him. When I met Dev through a common friend of mine. His name's Ron. And Ron and I have been together for a long time. Ronnie, you know, I was best man at his wedding. He was best man at my wedding. You know, I've known this kid his entire life, and I call him my true brother because he's one of those guys that'll be there anytime I need him to be there. So he told me, "Hey man, have you met this guy named Dev?" And I'm like, "Man, I don't know what Dev is." He says, "Well, he's this guy around town." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So one day he kind of arranged a meeting for me and Dev at a local pub. And we kind of go there, and it was funny because at that time in my life, I had my book. I was going around showing everybody my pitch book.
So one day, Ron invited us out, both Andrew and I, and Garrett came along as well, and I met Andrew's family, and we had a couple of beers, and I had just finished some pharmaceutical video for a client, and it was one of those, not sure how it's made. And there I was on my phone going, "Hey, look at this, what I did, and look at that, what I did." And Andrew's like, "Holy cow, this is great stuff, man, but you got to see what we do." And, he started opening up his stuff too, and we're both there across from each other going, "Take a look at that, take a look at that." And then he invited me over to the shop, and that's another story.
And one of the things that I really truly recognized in Dev was the depth of his talent. You know, to have an innate ability to look at what he's doing and what he's creating, and not only understand, hey, that's a really unique piece that you did that's compelling, but to understand the work that went behind it, that kind of meticulous know-how. So when I first met Dev and he showed me his work, man, I got that guy. I respected his talent. And the next thing I know is that Ronnie calls me up and goes, "Hey man, I'm gonna come by the shop. I'm gonna bring Dev." I was like, "All right, cool, man, bring Dev." You know, I didn't think anything of it at that time. And I'll never forget, you know, Dev walking into the shop, because I could tell right away he wasn't the kind of guy that's gonna go change the engine or carburetor in his car. That's not his talent.
I saw the container all cut up and no paint, and it's a nice structure, and I kind of got the idea a little bit, and I thought it was really cool, you know? Yeah, it was cool. And I said, hey, yeah, this is great stuff, man. And they told me about they wanting to go to tailgating and all of that, and I looked at this thing and I was like, there's no way these guys are getting this thing done. There's no way. This thing was just a shell of rust, it seemed like. But they assured me that it was gonna get done.
So when he walks in here and he saw what we had, we were probably day 3 or 4. We had whacked this box up. We were in the middle of the concept phase, and it looked like a bucket of rusty parts that had been just cut all to pieces. And I went to explain to him the vision, and I'll never forget the reaction on his face. It was kind of like telling somebody a story, but they're just not getting it. You know, so I'll never forget when they left, Ronnie and Dev left, and I called Ronnie about an hour and a half later, and I said, man, what'd Dev think? And Ronnie's got an innate way of putting things, you know, really, really to point. He said, yeah, he liked it. It was cool.
So what happened was, I left, you know, I thought it was a neat idea. I left. And then I think it was about a week or 5 days or something later, and Ron was gonna go back over, and he says, hey, let's go see what the guys are doing and how much progress they've made.
So I just went on about my business and didn't think anything of it. And it was probably about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks later. Garrett had locked in the Bucks game at that time, you know, and we were going to go to this tailgate event, and we had to accelerate our build to meet the timeline. So we were really, really deep in the process of building, and now it had went from this skeleton of parts and nastiness to actually something that was recognizable, and we had put a top on it, something we now call the Sky Deck. And Dev, and I get a call, and once again, it's Ronnie and Dev, and hey man, what you doing? And it was kind of funny because that call was like, hey, you want to come to the pub? And I'm like, no, I'm working because we're trying to hit this deadline. So they call, they're like, well, can we stop by? And I'm like, sure, come on by.
So I was like, yeah, man, sure, let's go see. And then I got to the warehouse, and there was a story I think maybe the guys alluded to. So I'm gonna go kind of a roundabout way here. Andrew loves this line. He says, you get box fever. Everybody gets box fever. Lo and behold, I was not ready for box fever. So I got there, and this thing was way ahead of where it was from the last time I saw it. They had a stairs up to the top. They had it framed out. The wood was going in, a custom wood was going in, big boy, as they call it. And there I was in amazement. Andrew said, come on, let's go up top, let's go up top. You have to experience this thing. You gotta come up, you know. You gotta see it from the top. And man, let me tell you, I walked up top there, and that was it.
I'll never forget this time, Dev walks into the shop, and have you ever watched somebody take a stutter step, or somebody just kind of, what? You know, I saw that what in his eye. So he come walking up, because he, in his words, real simple, like, man, looks a lot different. Man, looks a lot different. So I kind of fed on his enthusiasm and said, look, you really got to come up top. You got to go up top. And we walked up the stairs and got to the top of the sky deck, and I was doing my salesman 101. And you're gonna feel this, and you're gonna do that, and this is gonna be this, and this is gonna be that. And I'll never forget the moment for me when it just it all got quiet, and I see what we proverbially call box fever take over in dev. And I see all the emotions, I see all this calculation, I see all this pivotal, life-altering time in this man's face. And he just looks at me, and I'll never forget it because he just looks at me and goes, I want in.
I had my box fever. I had my eureka moment. I was beyond myself. I was flabbergasted. I was blown away. I knew right there and then, and I looked at Andrew and I said, I want in.
The day comes, 7 a.m., myself, Dev, the rest of the setup team, waiting here in the warehouse, ready to go. We have to be at the stadium by noon in order to get the box set up in location. Towing company comes, everything's fine, they back up into the back of the warehouse, and the first problem hits. The way in which the box is situated and the truck is won't allow it to actually be pulled up onto the bed of the truck. It's too far off on an angle that if they try to do it, it's gonna roll. Forklift is outside, we can't bring it inside, so how do we get it on? Quick thinking from one of our head mechanics. Let's use the overhead cranes. Great, okay. 15 minutes, we've got it chained up to the overhead crane, we're starting to move it and wiggle it, and the next problem hits. Well, we can't pick it all the way up at the crane because it's actually twisting where the door is, and we don't want to break off that full hydraulics. Okay, let's just take it one beat at a time. So after an hour and a half of finagling the truck and the box and just scooching it so minutely, finally get it chained up onto the delivery truck. Okay, I can breathe.
I didn't know how the heck they were getting this thing on top of a trailer, first of all, because for me, I don't know how these things work. I don't know if it's a lift, if it's a pulley system, or whatever it is.
Still got some time, but now it's 8:30, almost 9 o'clock, and we've got to be through Tampa game day traffic with a 20-foot shipping container hanging 4 feet off of a towing truck. Wonderful.
So actually what I did is I called them in the morning and I said, you guys set up? And Garrett said, yeah, we're ready. And I did everything not to call them again. So I go to the Tampa Bay Stadium and I get there at 8 o'clock. Now we're supposed to be there at 12 and we're supposed to go in the gate at 12 o'clock. I know that they're loading up at 7 o'clock and they should be there by 8:30. So I want to be out of the way over there to just watch my baby come in, right? You know? So I'm at Tampa Bay Stadium at 8 o'clock with my truck parked in another parking lot, standing underneath a tree, incognito, waiting for these guys to show up because I didn't want them to know how nervous I was.
lo and behold, it got on the trailer. Garrett and I followed it. We're weaving and bobbing in traffic. We're excited. We're like little kids in a candy factory. I'm shooting the wheels. I'm shooting the box. I'm grabbing the logo and all of that good stuff. And we're having just a great time. And we get to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium. And Garrett and I looked at each other as we were pulling in, and
Truck pulls up in front of us, and we're videotaping, and we get this amazing shot where the truck is going through the gates onto the lot, and you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneer flag just waving in the background. And it was just picture perfect moment, and you sit there and you go, I've arrived, I've made it. And you start to let the stress go, and you start to really feel the weight of what you've done and the excitement of what you've done.
Finally, at 11:30, and God bless my wife, because my wife had to listen to me the entire time. I would make my wife text Garrett to see if he was okay. But at 11:30, Big Boy shows up on the back of, hanging off the back of a tow truck, pulling into the Tampa Bay Stadium. And it was such a relief to know that those guys had made it happen. And, you know, later on they tell me the story of what happened, and I knew that was what was gonna happen to them. And the pride I had for them actually making it happen, overcoming the problems, overcoming the diversity, and actually showing up. I knew that's what a team was, and I knew that's what my box is. Accepting the challenge and making it happen.
So we park, get the box off, no problem, take it away. It's the moment of truth. Let's open our party box, our My Box, our mobile modular event space, Big Boy, everything the past 2 months have been coming to, and the hard work and the sleepless nights. And I go to hit the button for the hydraulics. Nothing. Doesn't even move a bunt. And the motor's going, and I'm just sitting there so frustrated out of such a day. It's like, it can't be all for naught. It can't just come to this moment that you've worked so hard for and just, it doesn't deliver. Andrew gets there, and I'm just head in my hands going, you know, I don't know, I'm frustrated with it. And he looks at me and he goes, did you check the flow valve? The what? The flow valve? Yeah, come over here. And he goes over and he goes, see this thing that we installed? That's to help it not just slam down. You gotta crank it open a little, otherwise you don't have any hydraulic flow. Try it again. Of course, I take it, I try it, smooth all the way down. At that point, I'm just, you know what guys, set it up, I'm good. I'm happy, I got it here, it opened up, nothing broke. Let's tailgate.
Everything's set up, the box looks beautiful. Going upstairs, you're coming back down from the sky deck. And it was about seeing it in motion now. You know, we're actually like, this is the sample. This is the sampling size. This is the test. This is gonna show us, does this thing have any traction? Is this thing a thing? Man, I gotta tell you, there wasn't a single person that went by that did not want to stop and go upstairs, go through it, sit in it, have a drink, throw some football around it. It was really beautiful to watch because the eyes on the unit were just everyone. We had people walking up to us asking us, do you rent this? Do you buy this? And at the time, I didn't know where the business was going because I wasn't really part of the business. But it was proof that this thing had legs, man. It was proof that this thing had legs. I can't express it enough what that emotion was. It was so beautiful to watch.
It was that moment of realizing what we really had. It was much more than just the concrete product of Big Boy and what we had done, but just the realization of that idea of a mobile modular event space was like lightning in a bottle. And the reason, because that was, we set it up. We didn't put any sort of fancy, red velvet or, hey, only we can tailgate there. And we had everybody and their mother walking up to us going, hey, is this a private VIP space? We just were curious about the box. We're curious about what this is. And so we said, yeah, come on, it's not private, come hang out, come tailgate. And we had an entire family of people go upstairs and sit there and hang out. And then we had, a party bus. It was this woman there was their bachelorette party right before for the game, and they came over and partied and hanged out. And it was just this amazing moment of, you felt like you were putting on your own party. You felt like it was your private VIP space, and just the novelty of that for anybody. And at that point is when you go, okay, we need to make more of this, and we need to make this more of a concrete reality beyond just Big Boy and this moment right here. We need to make this moment for everyone.
There's a lot of words that you can put out there to kind of describe something, success, loyalty, joy. I mean, the thesaurus is endless on the options that you can really look at. But one of the things that I really, really like to do is I like to imagine my life, what it could be, where it is. I like to imagine the possibilities. And even more than that is I like to imagine what can be. And I think there's a lot of people out there like that have a dream or have an aspiration or have something that they want to do. But then you have to turn that into the next layer, which is to create that. You have to take the necessary steps in that process to make whatever you imagined come to fruition. So the create part of it is the do. It's the blood, sweat, and tears of whatever you're trying to accomplish. And if you ever take something and you take it from your imagination and you create it into a physical, whatever that might be, then there is such an enjoy part of it. You enjoy the success of your accomplishment. You enjoy what it brings to other people. You enjoy making something out of nothing. So to take that and define a company, what we do here at MyBox is we love to imagine what our customers are imagining. We love to try to figure out what is their vision and to do whatever we need to do to take their vision and actually create it into a product. And by doing that, we're able to enjoy all the fruits of everybody's labor. So it goes to so many levels, and it speaks to so many things. But for me, it's a pillar of who we are as a company, who we are as individuals, and what we want to try to inspire and help other people understand. That if you just think about it, that's a lot of fun. If you think about it and do the necessary steps and create it, man, that's incredible. And to think about it, create it, and have people enjoy it, there's no better. No better.